Hello to all my international colleagues. I am so grateful you've taken the time to join this today. My name is Dan Bureau. I serve as the president for the Council for the Advancement of Standards in Higher Education. In my professional role, I am at the University of Memphis in Tennessee, and I look forward to talking with you more about using CAS as a framework for the implementation of student services. We were founded in 1979, and we're a consortium of currently 42 member organizations. So similar to IASIS, we convene entities that want to advance the good work within the field of student services, student affairs, and higher education at large. The distinction possibly is that in CAS, our members are professional associations to which student affairs and student services professionals might belong. So for example, a CUOI for those who work in the area of residence life, or ACUI for those that work in the area of college unions or student centers, or AHEAD, which is an organization that serves students with disabilities. And so there's a number of organizations that belong to CAS, but similar in scope to what you all do, we are trying to convene people in order to better the field of higher education. Every association, all 42 of them, have members appointed as representatives to our council. We are primarily known for a body that creates standards for functional areas, and we have 47 sets of standards and guides to assess those standards that are available right now, as well as 3 cross-functional frameworks and self-assessment guides. And those cross-functional frameworks go beyond just a distinct office. So for example, a functional area set of standards might be those for academic advising, but a cross-functional, so an office of academic advising might conduct a functional area review of their department. Cross-functional frameworks is more about building an ethos or a belief system around implementing kinds of services. So for example, one of our cross-functional frameworks looks at the idea of advancing health and well-being. And this resource will help institutions create a plan to connect the disparate offices and stakeholders, including local community members, that can help address that issue on a college campus. We are consensus oriented. We believe that the 42 member organizations send representatives that are qualified to give feedback as a result of their role on that association. And so as we develop standards and make decisions, we use a consensus approach, and that's very core to our principles as an organization. And the standards that we put forth are designed to be achievable by any program of service at any institution type. And our standards have been used internationally, particularly in South Africa, as well as China. Our general standards are the standards that cut across all 47 sets of functional area standards. These are not unique to any single set. These are things that we think are undisputable aspects of delivering high quality student services, student affairs work, whatever the functional area might be. And we break them down into 5 different categories. A strong focus, obviously, on students and the environments in which they live. What are the projects, programs, and services that must be delivered in order to empower students to learn, develop, and to be successful? Diversity and multiculturalism. We have a robust focus on this area, and we are doing more in order to increase that in our revision process, which is launching this year. The general standards focus a lot on the issues of access, diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly around the policies that institutions should follow in order to be seen as such, as well as obviously the environments we need to create in order to make students feel welcome regardless of their background. Organization, leadership, and human resources, really what are the people and the structures that are needed in order to be effective as a department, as a program. Ethical considerations, what are the law, policy, guidelines, both international, federal guidelines that are driving the work that we are doing. And then health engendering environments. This really focuses on what's the infrastructure we need, what are the technological resources, what are the facilities we need, what are the financial resources that we need in order to make this all happen, and really create an environment in which students can thrive. We have 12 different parts of our standards. You can see here how it's broken down. And actually, this is a old model of our standards. And if you look at them now, we've done some moving around. The assessment part is moved to the 4th section. We've moved these things around, but we've not lost really any of it. They're all still part of our standards, as you can see in the 10th edition. But you can see that these are categories that we have kind of placed our different standards under for each of our functional areas. So our standards have 2 different types of statements, as I've already mentioned. These are general standards that cut across all 47 of our functional areas. So these are attributes of high performance in a program that are the same for multicultural services as they are for academic advising, as they are for student organization, student activities. But then the functional area will have specialty standards, those that are specific to the functional area. And you can see here, it talks a little bit specifically about the area of career services. So the primary mission of career services is to assist students and other designated clients through all phases of their career development. So you can see how they differentiate there, where a general standard statement does not specifically identify the functional area, but it does talk about something that the functional area should achieve, as well as all the other functional areas for which we have standards. We have learning domains, learning and development domains and dimensions that are highlighted in our standards. It's very important to enact environments that are focused on learning, that also connect the experiences that students have in their academic pursuits with their co-curricular or out of the classroom pursuits. Students really call all this stuff college. They don't necessarily agree to the fact that there's a separation of what they're doing in class versus the out of classroom activities sometimes. And they're applying lessons they learn in both of those. So we have held up these 6 domains of and dimensions of learning and development for now for almost about 15 years. And in summary, the applications for our standards, there's a few ways that you can use them. You can create new programs and services. So for example, if you're creating a brand new office, you might be able to use our standards in order to create some, a strategic plan for the development of that office, highlight some of the key functions that you will implement during those first few years. You also can use them to focus your time, energy, and resources. It's certainly important that as we are overwhelmed and overworked and trying so hard to meet the needs of our students, that we are doing things that really have an impact. And so if there are activities, programs, or services that are not necessarily important, and you could identify those possibly through looking at our standards, then you might end up getting rid of those and enhancing some other programs, services, and activities that could be more beneficial to students. Standards are certainly a way to help staff develop. I know colleagues who have used the standards to create a professional development plan for themselves, where they've looked at them and said, I'm not so good in this area. I'm going to focus my time at an upcoming conference, or I'm going to do webinars or do reading on these areas in order to become more proficient in my work. These standards can guide strategic planning, and they can do so either before or after a thorough self-assessment and program review. CAS is mostly known for our standards because they provide a framework for self-assessment, which is the ability to look at one's department, their unit, objectively, and kind of evaluate the extent to which it is meeting standards that have been determined as good practice throughout the field. And so you could either go through that process and then use the findings there in order to create your strategic plan, or if you don't have time for that, but just want to use our standards to identify a few goal areas, a few areas of focus, then you can use them as well. And then finally, as I mentioned before, you can use them to create and assess learning and development outcomes. So I do want to thank you all very much for spending some time today, and I'm looking forward to answering questions or being a resource. You can access me through contacting cas.edu, which is our national CAS website. And you can access me that way, or you can email me at dan.bureau@gmail.com, dan.bureau@gmail.com. I thank you for your time today. I hope you take care of yourself.